I think we're in this, I don't know if it's a holding pattern or at the end of the cycle pattern. It feels to me like we're at the end of the cycle pattern. You know, the debate is 25 basis points, pause, pivot, or are we getting ready to pause? Is the 25 basis points not going to happen? I think I'm more or less in the 25 basis point camp now because, you know, I think with the 5% reading here, banks somewhat stabilizing. We've seen a lot of movements in deposit flows, and we have to sort of evaluate that because, you know, one of the things that the chairman said during the last press conference, and I think this is very important, is that lending conditions in the banking community are changing and changing quite rapidly. We've seen a lot of deposits move around the system. We've seen deposits move from small regional banks to larger banks, and then we've seen deposits move out of larger banks into money markets and treasury funds. So there's less money in the system to be lent out. Once banks have to hold their excess reserves, they can lend the remaining balances. But the remaining balances today at banks are relatively low. So the banks themselves are contracting the economy. The Federal Reserve Board understands that. I think they're trying to understand what the magnitude of that is. I've seen reports where the magnitude of that is equal to somewhere between 25 and 75 basis points of increased interest rates. So we have to understand where that is. So I think we're sort of at the end of this cycle. And that's why we're in this sort of holding pattern. We're holding to see what the Fed's going to say, what Powell's going to say now that we have this banking, the sort of banking data behind us, that we've seen reserves come out of the system, that we've seen this flight to money markets, we've seen a flight to treasuries. How do they evaluate the tighter lending conditions and how does that influence their decisions? That's why I think even when you see a more positive inflationary report today, you didn't really see a large interest rate move. You didn't see the moves that we might expect.